Hello, everyone. Welcome to this exclusive video interview brought to you by People Matters. Recognition programs are a powerful and often underutilized tool. Their power and relevance become even more significant in the context of the pandemic and the psychological benefits of enhancing employees' self esteem. What are the tools and technologies organizations can leverage to shape employee recognition? What are some of the trends around employee recognition post 2020 in India? What does the future landscape for employee recognition look like? To deep dive into this, we have with us Partha Neog, the CEO and co-founder of Vantage Circle, the leading employee engagement platform. Launched in 2011, Vantage Circle is a single platform for engaging employees through rewards and recognition, wellness, perks, sentiment analysis, and more. Prior to Vantage Circle, he has worked in companies like Infoedge, Hughes, Bharat Electronics across different geographies and functions and has more than 22 years of experience. Hi, Partha. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Yashwin. Thanks for having me here.
Great. And looking forward to hearing your views on how the employee recognition landscape is changing, especially since last year, and what are the new trends that have evolved. So I'll quickly jump on to the first question. What are some of the trends around employee recognition post 2020 in India that you have observed?
See, three things are very obvious, which is coming up. Okay, one is more demand. Okay, now people realize that this is the future. Okay, of course, not people will not be working from home all the time, but like a hybrid kind of a workplace where digital tools become important. They knew the importance of it before, but now it's imperative to do it immediately. Okay, so the demand has increased, so many more companies are coming. That's one. Uh, Secondly, when they're looking at tools, they also realize that adding more tools or destinations for employees to do different work, kind of work, is not going to be very effective, and adoption will not be there. So they're looking at the other doing this kind of recognitions in the way of the work. Okay, so the communication tools like your Microsoft Teams, Slack. So people want all this recognition in the Outlook inboxes. They want all these recognition to be integrated inside those kind of tools. That's the second trend which we are seeing. And third is a more fundamental shift which we are seeing. From a tick mark activity, HR is now looking for these tools to answer more fundamental questions. Okay, questions like alignment with culture, promoting certain values, correlation of recognition with performance, with attrition. So more fundamental questions, not just having a peer-to-peer recognition and a tick box activity. So, and that I think is a very welcome change which is happening. So these are broadly the three things which we have seen in the last year plus. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I totally agree with you. It's become fundamental now, while it was a priority, but it has now become an imperative, I think. How do you recognize your employees? How do you reward them, especially in this hybrid work environment? It's going to be a mindset shift. It's a transition to go through, actually.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Great,
Yes.
thanks. So, what do you foresee? What are some of the challenges that not foresee actually? What were some of the challenges that were posed by the pandemic when it came to employee recognition? As you said, that we moved to a hybrid or a remote working environment. What challenges did organizations come up with at that time?
See, I think the challenge was very straightforward. On recognition front, and when you are in the company, okay, and when you're physically present, you might just say, "Hey, Yashmin, good job done." Just a simple line. It's not like you are forced to do that, but I'm in the office, same as with you, and you have done some great work. I'll just say, "Hey, Yashmin, great job." That thing is gone. Okay, in Zoom calls, you cannot show emotions. Okay. Uh, Now, so that is where people realize that other companies realize that they need these tools. Okay. Now, tools will never replace the physical recognition or whatever was happening, but it can assist you in that. Okay. So I think the biggest challenge was, how do you recognize people? How do you even say a thank you to people? I mean, fine. I mean, you can do certain things in Zoom and Google Meets, but beyond that, how do you do it on a regular basis? How do you make it more visible to everyone? Okay. So I think those challenges are there, and that's where the tools will be able to help.
Yes, I agree. And I think in these times when we are working remotely, I think in being intentional also has become more important. But, otherwise, as you said, you were just walking past someone and you can just give a pat on the back and say thank you. These things you don't kind of remember while you're working virtually, right? Right?
Right.
How do you use these tools and technologies to create that, environment where people are showing more gratitude to each other? I think so. That really does matter.
True.
Great.
True.
Thanks for sharing that. So, according to you, how can organizations deliver impactful recognition at the workplace through the AIRE framework?
We have been working for some time, and we always believed in some kind of framework around recognition. But again, the last 1 year, as I've told you, the demand, the fundamental shifts which is happening, we actually put in a lot of time into this in the recent past, while we have been working on it for a couple of years. And the last 6 months is where we have really speed up things there. So the framework is basically the whole recognition framework: appreciation, incentivization, and reinforcement, with the emotional connect as the multiplier. So we call it the air framework there. Okay, so this is the air that your employees need to breathe. Okay, which might be very relevant in today's COVID situation also. So. So how we see it evolving? See that there's the first phase of recognition was more about peer-to-peer recognition, long service awards, spot awards, those kind of things. Now, as I have mentioned, it has become beyond. It has gone beyond the tick mark activities. There are two kinds of companies. Okay, one who had a very strong recognition framework in place, and they were starting to use the digital tools. The other for whom it has become a necessity in the recent past. Okay, but they don't have the expertise in creating this recognition framework. So for the second set of companies, it's very clear. Okay, it gives them a baseline from where the air framework gives them a baseline from where to start thinking about how to implement these things, how to design their recognition programs. Okay, and the best practices which has come in for the companies which are already having some frameworks. What the air framework gives is allows them to benchmark themselves against the best in the industry. So we're coming up with an air index in the near future, which will rank companies as per the recognition policies and the effectiveness of that, called the air index. So I think this framework is going to be dramatically changing things if for companies who have never used any framework like this, and even for companies which are using, they will get a benchmark in which to test themselves against. So that's the future, we believe. Yeah.
I think it sounds very promising, actually. Firstly, is to have a framework ready, because many companies, as you said, some have those frameworks, some don't, and they don't know how to go about it. So, one, that will help them with that, to
True.
create that process, that framework to, so how do they actually start recognizing the employees, and on what levels and how. And secondly, I think this indexing, the benchmarking part, I think that's going to be really useful as well, because companies would know how they stand, where they stand, and what is it that they need to do.
True. And see, it is, as I said, like things have now changed. Okay. And people need to now start thinking, and there's not been a lot of research around this space. Okay. And while in rewards, you'd have the big consulting companies who already has some standards and all. Around recognition, there's not been a lot of study. And that's where we're trying to bring this out.
It's pretty unique. Thanks for sharing that. So, what are some of the other tools and technologies, Partha, that can be leveraged to shape employee recognition as per you?
See, of course, tools like ours, and there are lots of other tools in the market, that R&R tools, which are there. That's the basic. Okay. But another thing which is important to understand is those measuring the effectiveness of this, measuring the pulse of the company. Okay. Unless you measure it, you will not know how effective your R&R policies are. So I think those pulse survey kind of tools, the sentiment analysis, those are very important to get the employee feedback. And uh, and I think in terms of engagement stuff, how do you measure the engagement? How do you measure the entire climate and weather? Is how you see it. Okay, so those kind of tools I think are very important. Besides the R&R basic tool.
Yeah, I think that's really important to feel the pulse of what people, how people are reacting to your recognition practices, your initiatives. I think that's really, really important.
True, true. And it's almost like we took it for granted. Not almost, we took it for granted. You just go to your coffee room or the pantry or your lunch table, and you can sense a vibe. You can get the feelers out there just by talking to 5, 6 people. Okay, what's
Exactly.
happening? That's
Yeah.
gone. Okay, that's gone now. Okay, now you are in a formal meeting. I'll say, Yashwin, can I talk to you half an hour at 12:30? So I'll fix up a meeting. That informal, just on the way where you get some feelers, that's gone. And that's where these kind of tools are required.
Yeah, I think totally, because everybody is missing that human connect, that physical touch, those water cooler conversations, as you said. And that's actually where you feel the pulse of what the organization, what the people of the organization are feeling at a moment. So if you can use tools to feel what people are, going through and what their emotions are with regards to the company, I think that's a very good way to go about it. Great, thanks. And finally, Partha, over to my last question now. So, what would you say are some common traps to avoid when selecting an employee recognition framework for the organization?
See, I think first people need to change their mindsets. Okay, is that long service awards is not recognition. Okay? That's one part of recognition. Maybe that takes a lot of your total cost goes to the long service awards, but that's just one small part of the whole recognition. Okay? Today, why I'm saying this is because I see it even not just in India, our international markets also. When we are in the US or any other country, we still see people or HR thinking about long service awards as recognition. I think the mindset has to come out of that. Recognition is much, much more beyond that. Secondly, I think the one of important challenges is people take it as a cost. Okay, we say that don't look at it as a cost. There's a platform cost, of course, there is there. Look at you know. You don't go and buy the cheapest product out there. Okay, think of it like a health insurance. The purpose of health insurance is to save you, avoid a financial crisis in your family. So you don't go and end up buying the cheapest health insurance out there. Okay? In the same way, we have to look at recognition tools as something which can increase productivity, which can imbibe the company values in the employees, not which is the cheapest product. I think that's the second thing which I think is a challenge or a lot of companies are facing. And related to that, I think is the whole cost of ownership. Total cost of ownership is how companies should look at this. Okay, not just as a bits and pieces of it, but the total cost of ownership of it. I think these are the common traps which people fall into. Long service awards. Let's just give out some awards. That's it. Okay, no, it's
Yeah.
not that. Secondly, let's take the cheapest product. No, that doesn't solve your purpose. As well, not take it. I mean, no point of taking a 2 lakh rupee health insurance. Okay, if you are a 30 plus person, don't take it. Better you save your money. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, those I think are two important challenges.
And I agree exactly. It cannot just be a tick in the box that, okay, we need to do something about recognition. So let's just have this. It has to be a very well thought through, as you said. It can't be bits and pieces. It has to be a wholesome initiative to have a recognition, reward and recognition tool, a framework for your organization. Great. Thanks for sharing that. Partha, any closing thoughts on recognition and how it will turn out in the future?
Oh, I think it's next 2 years. Okay, I think we are in the mid 90s of outsourcing. Okay, when the mid 90s outsourcing picked up hugely. Okay, companies started. I think that's where we are in the whole R&R space. Next 2 years, I think will fundamentally change both the buyers and the sellers like us. Vendors like us. There are lots of other players. They will change, and even the buyers, how they look at this product will change. Fundamental. Next 2 years, I think, is the time.
Great, great. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to how this entire space will transform and transition into the new hybrid work environment as well. How will technology impact it? I think, as we said in the beginning, also it's about being intentional about recognition, being intentional about putting that framework, using the right tools to recognize your people, feeling their pulse. Doing that sentiment analysis, finding out what is it working, what is it that's not working for them. But overall, yes, being very intentional about recognizing your employees. I think that's the way forward.
Absolutely, I totally agree with the way, and I look forward to the your Tech HR event. Where maybe we can discuss this more.
Absolutely. It's just definitely looking forward to that as well. Partha. So thank you so much for giving us the time. It was a great conversation, Partha.
Thanks, Yashwin.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you everyone for watching this video. We'll come back with many more such initiatives. Do keep watching People Matters. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks, Partha. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Yasmin. Bye.